everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of Shreddin With Aaron. Today I want to talk about a concept that I've been teaching a lot to my students and something that's just always on my mind when it comes to learning jazz, learning improvised music, and helping other people to achieve their improvisation and jazz goals in their lessons. This is something that I truly feel is among the most important concepts in all of music. So I wanted to just pay a little bit of attention to the concept of voice leading, because a lot of times when we think about improvisation, we think about it in terms of scales and chords. So we end up going, okay, like a minor 7 chord would be a Dorian scale. So anything in the Dorian scale works over that chord. Anything over a dominant chord that you play in the Mixolydian scale will work over that chord. It's a little bit deceiving though, because when it comes to playing an improvised solo, you actually want to use those scales in a way that makes sense. You want to organize the notes in those scales in a logical and sensible way. Just like you can say the English language, you can assemble any word in any order you want, but you want to have at least a semblance of good grammar so that people can understand what you're trying to convey. Okay, so let's take a rhythm changes, for example. All right, I'll just play through the roots of the A section. That's a lot of changes, and this is one thing that overwhelms students a lot and young improvisers is, oh my goodness, man, how do you play over rhythm changes? It changes chords every 2 beats. And to me, one of the most important ways of dealing with that is the concept of voice leading, because if you just think of every tune as a series of chords, then you're just going to play a bunch of kind of prescribed patterns like stuff like that, where it just seems like it's kind of all coming from an exercise book. So how do you make a long-term melody work over all of those changes? Well, you think about voice leading. So the first chord on a rhythm changes is a concert B flat major 7. And then the second chord goes down a minor 3rd to a G dominant 7. Okay, but that's a lot of information, and when you're going 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a fast tempo to be thinking about all of those notes. So what I like to do is simplify into what are the important notes that are going to convey the overall sense of the melody or of the chord changes in a melodic way. So I'm going to play the root of the first chord, and then I'm going to play the third of the second chord. And then the third chord is the 2 chord in the key, or a concert C minor 7. So I'm going to play the root of that chord. And then the 4th chord is a dominant chord in the key, or an F7. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that an F7 sharp 5 so that I can continue this chromatic voice leading upwards. And then the next chord is the 3 chord, which in this case is a D minor 7. So all I'm really doing here is I'm finding the closest chord tone from one chord to the next, and that allows me to get a smooth melodic voice leading. All right, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So I'm finding a way to connect it, and now all of a sudden I'm not just playing a bunch of random patterns over the changes and treating each individual chord as its own little world, but I'm treating them all in the context of the greater picture. And this is what you will find if you transcribe a lot of solos from the masters. When people think about Sonny Stitt and Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie and Oscar Peterson and all these jazz giants that had phenomenal technique, the first thing they think about is, holy crap, those guys can play super, super fast and super hard stuff. But what I think about is not really the fact that it's hard, but the fact that what they're doing is so well crafted and so well voice led. All right. And so if you really break down and study transcriptions of these guys' solos, you're going to actually find that they're doing a lot of really good voice leading. So let me demonstrate how this will manifest itself into a more sophisticated solo. I'm still going to use concepts of voice leading, but I'm going to make it more of a bop solo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So that's the first 2 A sections of a rhythm changes. And all I'm doing is I'm creating eighth note lines based on the changes, but I'm accentuating and highlighting those important voice leading chord tones that make it smooth. So this is obviously a difficult thing to learn and a difficult thing to implement into your own playing. So what I would recommend is taking a piece of paper, a staff paper, and just writing out the chord changes and penciling in what are the chromatic smooth ways you can lead from one chord to the next, and have a little reference point. And then you can create your lines and look at the sheet and sort of use that as a way to start connecting your ideas. And then eventually the goal is that we're not so much thinking about it as we're hearing it in our heads. We're hearing that chord motion and the important chord tones as they happen, so that we can think about artistic decisions as opposed to just mathematical decisions, all right? But it has to start with the mathematical decisions first. Just like when you're painting or drawing or doing any skill or cooking, you have to start with the basics. You have to learn how to draw a basic triangle, a basic straight line. You have to learn proportions and basic concepts, which is what the mathematical part of what we're doing. And then you can start worrying about artistic decisions and what am I trying to convey. I hope this helps. I know that it's kind of a long journey, but think about voice leading. It will completely transform your playing if you haven't already been dealing with it. It'll take your playing from just being notes and scales to actually being beautiful melodic playing, and I think that you're going to enjoy it a lot more. Thank you for watching. I hope this was very helpful to you. Please check out my website, www.aaronhedenstrom.com, if you're interested in knowing more, if you want to get in touch, and I hope to see you for the next episode.